Imagine this. A friend, a colleague, or maybe even a family member turns to you with a request. You already know you don't want to do it. Maybe you don't have the time. Maybe you don't have the energy. Maybe you simply don't want to. But instead of saying no, your mouth forms the word yes before you even realize it. And as you walk away, there's a heaviness inside. You've just taken on something you never wanted in the first place. The resentment builds not at the other person but at yourself. And you quietly think, why can't I just say no? If that feels familiar, you are far from alone. Almost everyone struggles with this at some point, and not because you're weak, selfish, or lacking discipline. The real reason is that your brain doesn't have a ready-made template for polite refusal. In those high-pressure moments, when someone is looking directly at you, your nervous system interprets their request as a social threat. And because humans are wired to avoid conflict, your brain chooses the safest path. Agree now, regret later. But what if I told you that there's a way out of this loop? What if saying no could feel natural, confident, and guilt-free, and even strengthen the relationship instead of damaging it? The key is not willpower, and it's not memorizing a long list of comebacks. It's something much simpler. One short phrase that acts like a shield. A phrase so effortless your brain can actually use it in real life, even under pressure. And once you know it, the guilt that usually follows a no dissolves because you're not rejecting the person. You're simply protecting your own boundaries with clarity and respect. Let's step back and unpack why this is so powerful. Saying no is difficult because it triggers 3 hidden fears. Fear number 1, the fear of rejection. Deep down, you worry that if you decline, the other person will think less of you or distance themselves. Fear number 2, the fear of conflict. You imagine that saying no will start an argument or awkward silence you don't want to face. And fear number 3, the fear of guilt. Even if nothing bad happens, you carry the weight of being the bad person for not helping. These 3 fears combine into one overwhelming force that makes saying yes the path of least resistance. But here's the truth. Every yes you give without meaning it is actually a no to yourself. A no to your time, your energy, your priorities. And over time, that erodes self-respect, leaving you more tired, resentful, and disconnected. This is why learning to say no isn't just about protecting your calendar. It's about protecting your sense of self. And here's where the one simple phrase comes in. Think of it like an emotional circuit breaker. When a request lands in front of you, instead of your nervous system panicking and defaulting to yes, you give it a ready-made script that neutralizes the pressure. The beauty of this script is that it doesn't reject the person. It simply communicates your boundary in a way that is calm, respectful, and final. And because your brain no longer has to invent words on the spot, the stress vanishes. But before I reveal the exact phrase, let's build the foundation so you understand why it works. Imagine your brain like a computer running social software. For yes, the code is fully developed. You've been practicing it since childhood. But for no, most of us have buggy, incomplete code. That's why the system crashes in the moment. The fix isn't to delete the yes program. It's to install a stable, efficient no response that can run automatically. And the simplest way to do that is with one clear sentence. Let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed that when you give long explanations for saying no, it backfires? You think you're softening the blow, but the other person hears an opening. They counter your excuse and suddenly you're backed into a corner. The longer the explanation, the weaker your no becomes. This is why the phrase we're about to explore has to be short. Brevity is strength. When you say less, you actually sound more confident. And confidence doesn't trigger conflict, it earns respect. Think of it like a surgeon's tool, precise, clean, leaving no unnecessary damage. So what does this look like in practice? Picture this scenario. A coworker asks if you can take on an extra project. Your instinct is to explain all the reasons why you can't, hoping they'll understand. Instead, you say one short phrase that makes it clear you won't be taking it on, while still signaling warmth and professionalism. The conversation ends there, without guilt, without pressure. That's the magic of a well-crafted no. It works because it addresses those 3 fears we talked about earlier. First, it reduces rejection because you're declining the request, not the person. Second, it avoids conflict because it's calm and simple, not argumentative. And third, it prevents guilt because the phrase affirms your boundary without attacking anyone else's needs. It's like having a verbal shield that protects both sides. Now let's deepen this even further because the psychology behind it is fascinating. Your brain has what scientists call scripts, automatic responses for common social situations. When someone says thank you, your script is, "You're welcome." When someone asks, How are you? You probably answer fine or good without thinking. These scripts reduce mental load. The problem is, for many people, the no script was never installed. That's why you feel panic. Your brain has no default response, so it scrambles. What we're going to do is give your brain its missing script. And because it's only one sentence, it's easy to recall under pressure. But before I share it, I want you to imagine how different your life would feel if you mastered this. Imagine being asked for a favor you don't want to do, and instead of your chest tightening and your mind racing, you feel calm. You smile, you say the phrase, and the conversation moves on. No awkwardness, no guilt, no resentment. Imagine how much lighter your days would feel if every yes you gave was genuine, not forced. That's not just about productivity. It's about integrity, living aligned with your true priorities instead of constantly betraying them. This isn't just a communication hack. It's a foundation for self-respect. And here's the thing. Once you experience this shift in one area, it ripples everywhere. You'll find it easier to protect your time, to say no to unhealthy habits, to decline distractions. Because at its core, saying no is the ultimate act of self-leadership. You're telling yourself, my time, my energy, my values matter. And once you embody that, others will too. In just a moment, I'll reveal the exact phrase and show you how to use it in any situation. But first, let me leave you with this thought. The ability to say no is not about closing doors. It's about opening the right ones. Every no to something misaligned is a yes to something that matters. And the one phrase you're about to learn will make that choice feel effortless. Now let's take this phrase and make it a living, breathing part of your daily interactions. Because knowing it is one thing, but using it consistently is what rewires your brain and changes your life. Think of it like practicing a musical chord. The first time it feels awkward, the second time a little smoother, and eventually it becomes second nature. The same applies here. The first few times you say, I can't commit to that, but I appreciate you asking, your heart might race. You might feel the old guilt trying to creep in. But the moment you see the other person nod and move on, a spark of confidence ignites. Your nervous system realizes, wait, nothing bad happened. And that's how you build a new pattern, through repetition and proof. Over time, the fear of saying no dissolves, replaced by a quiet confidence that you can trust yourself to handle any request with grace. Now here's the deeper layer. When you master saying no without guilt, you also upgrade your yes. Every yes you give becomes genuine, wholehearted, and powerful. Imagine how different it feels when you say yes, not because you were pressured, but because you truly want to contribute. That yes carries energy, enthusiasm, and authenticity. People feel the difference. They don't just see you as agreeable, they see you as trustworthy, because your words now match your intentions. That is the foundation of real respect, in personal relationships and in professional life. Think of how many moments in your past were filled with silent resentment, agreeing to stay late at work even though you were exhausted, accepting a favor you didn't want to reciprocate, saying yes to a social event when all you wanted was rest. Each of those moments chipped away at your sense of agency. Each one left you feeling powerless. Now imagine the opposite future. You get a request, you pause, and with calm confidence you say the phrase. The other person accepts it. You walk away lighter, prouder, freer. Multiply that over weeks, months, years, and you've completely rewritten the story of your life. It's not just about boundaries anymore. It's about identity. You've gone from the person who can't say no to the person who knows exactly when and how to say it. Here's the psychological shift that makes this permanent. Every time you use the phrase, you're proving something to yourself. I can protect my time. I can honor my energy. I can stand by my values without hurting others. That proof is addictive in the best way. It creates a new narrative in your brain. I am someone who can choose. And once that story takes hold, guilt doesn't stand a chance. Because guilt thrives in the gap between who you want to be and how you act. Close that gap and guilt evaporates. Let's put this into a real-world scenario. Picture yourself in the office. A manager walks over with an extra assignment that you know will drown your schedule. Instead of panicking, you take a breath and calmly say, I can't commit to that, but I appreciate you asking. No excuses, no over-explanations. The manager nods and walks away. In that moment, you didn't just save an hour of your time. You reinforced to your brain that you're capable of handling pressure with dignity. That single exchange becomes a rehearsal for the next and the next until it's automatic. Or imagine a family setting. A relative asks you to host a gathering when you're already overwhelmed. Old you would have said yes, then stewed in resentment. New you smiles and says, I can't commit to that, but I appreciate you asking. The relationship remains intact because you added gratitude. but you've also safeguarded your mental health. The subtle message is clear. I respect myself, and I respect you. That balance is what makes the phrase so powerful. It's not a weapon, it's a shield. There's also a hidden benefit. By modeling this behavior, you give others permission to do the same. People around you see that saying no doesn't have to be harsh or selfish. It can be kind, clean, and liberating. You might even notice friends or colleagues start using similar language because boundaries are contagious. They create an environment of mutual respect where no one feels trapped by invisible obligations. Let's anchor this into one clear mental model you can carry with you. Think of every request as a fork in the road. One path is the automatic yes, easy in the moment, heavy later. The other path is the intentional no, slightly uncomfortable at first, freeing afterward. The phrase is the signpost that guides you down the second path. Each time you choose it, you strengthen that road until it becomes your default. Over time, the automatic yes withers away and the intentional no becomes second nature. And here's the most liberating truth. Saying no doesn't make you less generous, less caring, or less loved. In fact, it makes your generosity more real because your yes is no longer diluted by resentment. People trust you more because they know when you agree it's genuine. Your relationships deepen, your energy stabilizes, and your self-respect grows. All from one simple phrase. So here's my invitation to you. Tonight, practice it out loud. Say the words slowly, clearly, so your brain starts to recognize them as familiar. Tomorrow, when the next request comes, use it. Even if your voice shakes, even if your palms sweat, say the phrase, I can't commit to that, but I appreciate you asking. Watch how the world doesn't collapse. Watch how respect replaces guilt. Watch how your sense of control returns. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about learning to reject people. It's about learning to honor yourself. And when you honor yourself, you actually become more present, more authentic, and more trustworthy to others. That is the paradox of no. It doesn't close doors, it opens the right ones. And that one phrase is your key. So the next time someone asks for something you don't want to give, remember, you don't owe anyone an elaborate excuse. You owe yourself honesty. Just one sentence, spoken calmly and respectfully, has the power to change not just the moment, but the way you live your entire life. Try it. Feel the freedom in your chest, and step into the version of you that knows how to say no, with confidence, with kindness, and without guilt.